easy as saying buckle down. So having getting therapy and talking about it and prioritizing your own mental health is important. So that means disconnect, get off the social media. That's why I'm never running for office.
Right.
Hey, never say never.
No, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, there's been such a shift in how social media has changed the landscape with campaigning or even just people in politics. It's changed a lot of how the younger generation gets their information. So I'm going to bring up another election question here. So just as a general here, we saw the electoral vote really kind of stop or be called around, what was it, like 270 for Trump, and it was around 220 at 218 or something at the time.
Yeah.
But so in just bringing up the Electoral College in general, how was the election, or I'm sorry, how did the Electoral College impact this election, in your opinions, and does it need to be reformed?
I mean, I would have said if the popular vote was, again, in opposition to the Electoral College, I'd say, okay, there are things that need to be looked at here. But the popular vote did not factor in. This is a case. This is the first time in a while, well, since was it George W. Bush, where the Republican won both the popular and the electoral vote. So I don't see a lot of. I mean, people are going to argue about it, but it panned out this time. If anything, the one issue with the Electoral College is it determines the quote unquote swing states, and the folks who are going to get hammered by all the ads and counter ads and constant bombardment and their mental health, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And honestly, that can be super exhausting. I mean, I know that we have all here had so many political ads on, whether it's TV, social media, the radio, everything. It's just, I agree. But as far as the Electoral College goes, I have to agree with you, Elliot. I would say that in times, yes, there have been candidates during elections that have, for example, won the popular vote but lost the Electoral College. But I do agree with pretty much everything that you stated, because I think that it is a pretty good representation of the U.S., and I know the reasons as to why it was established. And I do think that it was meant to, I think that it was created with some documents that were meant to stand the test of time, not built for the times. And I would say that for right now, I'm fine without reform on it.
And be careful. You keep saying that you agree with me, and someone's going to use that against you in a political ad.
I think that someone's going to try to use everything against me one day.
Fair enough.
She wore stripes on a Friday.
After Labor Day, too.
Oh, no. They're going to come for me now. Thank you.
Fashion police. Yeah, well, I mean, tan suit. Kamala thought maybe wearing the tan suit would be enough to campaign and get the votes that they needed, but turns out it didn't. Leading to my next question here, around 20 million less Democratic voters for president this year. Why did so many people stay at home this election? Or, like we were talking earlier, Elliot, did people just focus on voting down ballot? What do you guys think is the reason for all that?
I'm going to say it was. I'm speaking anecdotally right now, but I'm sure the data is going to come out later. How many people said, I'm tired of both parties? I'm tired of it.
A lot.
Right? And you look at the North Carolina election, the Democratic candidate for governor got more votes than Kamala Harris did. And so you look at the third, fourth, fifth party, the Libertarian, Green Party, and I forgot what the last party was. It ended up taking off a lot of those votes. So, had those extra parties not been there, I think Harris would have had more of a chance. But it's like, yeah, we want another party. We're tired of the two-party system. And I can sit here and I can say, hey, folks, that you're not thinking straight here, and you're kind of voting, you're kind of voting against yourself when you do that sort of thing. But at the same time, it's like, hey, if that's the way people feel, then as a party, you need to do better. You need to do better at connecting with people.
Yeah. Any thoughts from you, Cecilia?
I would agree.
again.
Oh no.
See, so she's agreeing with me. And look out.
What
Look out.
what a crazy concept that a Democrat and a Republican can agree
I'm an
on
independent
things.
now. I'm an independent now.
Yeah. Hey,
I'm going
welcome
independent.
Welcome to
That's
the club
fair.
of
Yeah,
sitting at
I'm
the
going
top of the
independent.
seesaw. Yeah.
This past election, I'm independent. I'm just
Is
know
this
what?
serious news?
No, I'm serious. I'm being serious.
Welcome to the club.
I'm
yeah.
an
Seriously.
independent because it's
I
like
respect that.
I appreciate that because I was equally frustrated with the Democratic Party, equally frustrated as you know. And again, but please, I interrupted you. Go on.
No. Oh my gosh, you're fine. Honestly, I would agree.
Got you on camera. Yeah.
Oh no. But I would say that I think that it's super important for both parties to remain connected. I would applaud and commend the Republican Party in the way that, for example, Donald Trump ran his campaign. I honestly think that the social media and marketing team was kind of brilliant, to say the least. I think from the rallies to the campaign stops, to getting the message out. I mean, was eating at some great Mexican restaurants and actually saw Trump ads in Spanish, and I completely respected that. I love that a lot. And I would say that if moving forward, I would just hope that we continue to stay grounded, connected with the people, because that's who it's for.
And for a lot less money too. The Trump campaign did not spend as much money on ads and on the ground game as the Harris campaign did.
Yeah, interesting to see the dichotomy of focusing so much on immigration and all that stuff, and then as well campaigning towards that demographic as well. So
Right.
to say that it was money not well spent would be a lie. So
I mean, the thing that I think tends to get forgotten in the whole discussion about immigration is that people who've immigrated. I have family members who've immigrated. I mean, not blood family, but
Right.
in-laws, and it's like
Blood
and-
doesn't make a family,
right.
love does.
And they will say they also believe in immigration reform. They believe that people should immigrate, quote unquote, legally. So now I'm like, okay, I guess that has been made abundantly clear. Let's start actually addressing the issues of immigration, because that's something that keeps getting brought up again and again and again.
absolutely, yeah,
And nothing gets done about it.
through administrations. And I mean, to bring it hyper political here, you've even seen Trump effectively block measures that would help a lot, the immigration thing. So hopefully as soon as possible, we could get that through and start making sense of things. Because, yeah, people talk about it. It's been a real contentious issue since before the Bush presidency, even in Clinton.
I think Bush, I'm going to give George W. Bush credit that he actually, from his desk, was talking about immigration reform as a former governor of Texas. It's something he wanted to do. He was pushing for it. His own party got in the way of taking care of those things, which frustrated me at that point. They're going, this is the leader of your party. You should be following his lead. So anyway.
Yeah, I'm excited for just things to start going, at least things to be rolling out, as far as instead of for political motivation type of reasons,
No. 18 months. This administration's got 18 months to start coming through on their promises. I want to see prices go down. I want to see housing addressed. I want to see the border fixed, and I want to see this new healthcare plan that
All
they
right.
keep talking
Anything you're looking at seeing effectuated?
I am very excited to see the way that the Trump administration coming back into office reshapes the economy, strengthens our economy. I am excited for manufacturing and American jobs and American labor to be brought back to the States. I'm also very excited. I am looking forward to immigration reform. I have been a staunch supporter of immigration reform forever, actually. I'm a proud first generation American born to two legal immigrant parents, and I agree. And I think that, but I think that
Maybe we should just run on a ticket together.
yeah,
since we disagree on everything.
this could be a thing. This could be a very powerful thing. But I'm super excited to
I'll be
see.
your VP.
Vice
that-
council
I'll be your
person. We're at council person right now. Don't get your
Okay, yeah.
get too.
I'll be your chief of staff. How's that?
The presidency one day is the goal. But that being said, I am excited to see how Trump makes good on his promises as his campaign slogan: "Promises made, promises kept. So here's and cheers to the next 4 years.
Well,
18
here's to holding
months.
him
You got-
accountable. Definitely, that's one thing we're all looking to do. You know,
Absolutely.
Especially, I mean, having said it's on both sides. You know, the reason why Biden and Harris didn't retain the votes and get the votes and really get the trust of the people is the not following through on the campaign promises. So,
I wouldn't go that far, but I would say they didn't get enough done. They got a lot done, but not enough, and they didn't toot their own horn enough. And if I know anything about the Trump administration, is that they will toot their horn.
100%.
That's what
yeah.
the Republicans are very good at. So that's what I'm saying. I am keeping receipts.
Yes,
I am
absolutely.
keeping track of the price of things now, and I want to see how much things cost in 6 months. I want to see how much things cost in a year. I want to see the border and immigration stuff fixed. And everything. I'm going to tell you as an independent now, but also to a Republican.
Yes.
Every time the Republicans introduce some sort of policy, my first question is going to be, what does this have to do with the economy? Because you ran on the economy and how you want to fix the economy. What does this have to do with the economy? So if you come to me and you say, well, we need to talk about the books that are being sold in schools or blah, 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 I'm going to go, no. What does that have to do with the economy? If you're going to tell me, oh, well, we need to, legislate, drag queens doing shows at midnight. No. What does that have to do with the economy? Mm-hmm. This culture war stuff,
right.
I don't want to hear it anymore. You ran on the economy. Let's deal with the economy.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I would agree with that. The election was pretty easy as far as voting, I thought. My voting plan was to go on Halloween, get the voting done early, very few lines. I think I might keep that going. Just vote on Halloween. What was your guys' voting plan this year?
I voted early before Halloween because it's funny, the day I voted, I also ran out and got Halloween candy because I wasn't sure if I would have enough candy for the kids that came by. But it was important to me to make sure I got that out of the way. I was foreseeing, I don't know if I talked about this before. I was foreseeing long lines, as everyone saw, right? Election day. I still waited for 45 minutes, which again, I think it's great. It's great that people got involved.
Sure. Yeah. How about you, Cecilia?
Well, so my voting plan has always been to vote early. I think that it's the safest, but I think that voting is a priority for me. I think that why would I not go early?
Feels better, yeah.
Absolutely. And I ended up voting earlier than I had expected because I was helping check some people's voter registration status and making sure everyone was good to go. And I actually found out that my voter registration status could not be resolved, even though I have been a registered voter here in Kane County previously, and was already good. So I actually had to call the Kane County clerk and essentially we're ironing out some stuff. So I had to go re-register because the state had, I guess, sent a letter to unenroll me from the voter rolls in Kane County, stating that I moved to Cook, which is definitely a little bit of a concern. But then I did go back to the Kane County clerk. I registered to vote that day. And fortunately, because you are required to cast your ballot right after you register at that time, I actually was very fortunate to be able to skip the line. So I apologize to everyone who did have to wait.
So there's the hack.
Yeah, you have to go through a bunch of rigmarole, first.
Yeah, it's just hope that you get unenrolled, cordially re-enroll, and then...
Yeah,
that's like the lightning pass at Disney
thankfully,
World.
yeah.
I really did feel pretty fortunate. It's looking on the bright side, right? Because I was looking over there.
It's totally cool that you're in Illinois as well because they make it easy.
Absolutely, it was I will commend the Kane County clerk. It was a very seamless process. And
same. I just moved from Elgin to Evanston. I got here with enough time within the month or so that they allow you to be here to re-register and vote. So I re-registered the day I voted and made it easy. Voted one time as you're supposed to. And that's how it goes. As I said, lucky that we're in Illinois. Such great, easy registration and all that stuff. And you see even here, people having problems, but making it all right for everybody to get their voice heard. Bringing up another contentious issue, because why not? Why have a panel?
Well, we're
without-
agreeing on everything right now, so I don't know how contentious it's going to be.
That's true, and this one's
Unless you have something to say about my skincare or my stripes on a Friday, we're good to go, Elliot. Mr.
Yeah, you have
Independent.
great skin.
Can't hate.
I don't mean that in a creepy way.
I didn't think so, but
It puts the lotion on, it gets the hose.
maybe one day I'm gonna have to come on here and share my secret with all of you.
Oh yeah, we'll keep that for the podcast to
Yeah,
then monetize off.
I
that.
think it's just,
Absolutely.
I think it's just being young and avoiding
Great
sugar.
idea.
That'll do it.
The young I do have down. The avoiding sugar could be up for debate.
There we go.
but-
It's a great.
For the
It's a
pod.
great. Yeah. It's a great compliment at all times for sure. Easy to take.
Thank you very much.
For sure. But back to the question here. It's another one of those contentious issues that comes up it seems like campaign cycle, every election cycle, in between the midterms, the primaries, all the times we actually do the process of voting. Election reform. What does it look like, and is it necessary?
No, that's a good one. I mean, I don't know. The system right now, as it is, I know there are inconsistencies from state to state. I mean, I'm one of those people. I believe you should have an ID to vote.
I
don't have a problem with that.
I do. I completely agree.
I agree. I don't have a problem with that. Mind you, I also think they should make it easy to get an ID. Like some states, you got to get a driver's license. But what if you don't drive? Well, what about Illinois? We have driver's license and we have
State
state
IDs.
IDs.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, let's make it so if you need an ID to vote, let's make it easy to get that ID. And I think that's fair. I think that's a good compromise on things. Because I believe in, yes, election integrity. Let's be honest, there was a time, and not recently, but, let's go back a few decades when things like ballot box stuffing was happening, and you did have things, especially like during the civil rights movement, where it wasn't like not only were we preventing certain people to vote physically, but we were taking their votes and the votes were being taken and the wrong candidate was being put on them. So there was a lot of misrepresentation of an electorate there. But we've gotten past that, right? I think we're better now. We have the technology to make things fair and equitable, but still there are things that we can do. But I don't think that every requirement necessarily needs to be a roadblock.
I'd agree.
I'm really liking this independent Elliot.
It's a whole new flavor. Yeah.
I mean, I liked you
It's
before
been a
as a
division.
Democrat, but it's a nice change of
Again, my sister thinks I'm a raging liberal, which in some cases I can be, but there are days I'm like, no, I'm a logical person.
Also,
Anyway,
that
they all
at the
say.
end of the day, we're Americans, we're human beings, we're
Thank
people.
you.
We both like coffee. There's a lot going on.
Well, this is actually, I can't put on the camera anymore because our camera's out, but Country Donuts, hot apple cider.
Oh man, see,
Yeah.
so much.
If I'd known you liked that, I would have brought you one.
Thank you very much. I'll let you know because I do. I love.
That is really good.
I'd love-
But anyway, you should answer about the election.
Yes. So I think I firmly believe that only citizens should vote, and I don't know why that is a controversial issue. It's been written. This has been in our documentation for the U.S. But I also think that yes, we should have a voter ID, but we should make it more accessible for U.S. citizens to get ID, whether it's a state ID, a driver's license, and to be able to cast their ballot no matter what.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's a good answer. And my retort to the pushback of that illegal aliens are somehow they're undocumented.
Undocumented
I'm sorry. Yes.
immigrants, yes.
Undocumented immigrants.
Yeah.
The verbology, it's constantly changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really not affecting the elections as much as it's being focused on, kind of like the whole, a lot of the focus, like Elliot was talking about, over the top. But that's another conversation for another time. And I agree that, I don't think it's any crazy thing to say just make it the IDs and that's it.
Right.
Like, have your ID. And maybe just the tough thing is forcing states to have issued those state IDs.
Right.
You can't necessarily do that as a federal government. So it's election reform is one of those tough things, especially when you're dealing with the whole, it's state issues, it's local and also national elections going on at all times. So.
And those things cost money. I know.
do.
It costs a lot of money. Getting the system together, processing those IDs, creating the IDs, printing them, making sure you're protecting against counterfeiting, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It costs money.
It does indeed. And you know what else costs money? To run a radio station. So we got to pay the bills around here. We're going to take a quick 4-minute break now. You're listening to Apolitical Talk Show right here on 1410 WRMN. Ben joined with Cecilia and Elliot. We'll be right back with this electacular special panel after this.
Offer much more than their signature Italian beef. Try the Italian sausage, roasted chicken, and more. There's a big variety of delicious side dishes. Beef Villa uses quality ingredients from homemade recipes, and they purchase top-of-the-quality food products from their vendors to bring you the absolute best tasting of foods. Beef Villa's great service and quality are waiting for you, but you won't be waiting long because it's always hot and fresh. Visit beefvilla.com.
Rise and shine, Fox Valley listeners. It's time to kickstart your day with First Shift with Marky B on WRMN 1410 AM. From 6 to 9 a.m., join the chatter that gets you clued in with the latest buzz around town. Don't just sip on your coffee. Let Marky B brew your morning with the perfect mix of news, views, and moves. Dial us in or live stream at WRMN1410.com and make your mornings a whole lot brighter. WRMN 1410 AM. We're the voice of the Valley, and we're here to talk.
This is McGruff the Crime Dog, and I need you to help me take a bite out of crime. Counterfeit products are popping up everywhere. Fake sneakers, fake cosmetics, and even fake pills. Crooks are selling counterfeit versions of just about everything. Last year, billions of dollars worth of counterfeit products were sold in the U.S. Sure, it may seem like saving a few bucks on the things you want isn't a big deal, but counterfeits are usually made in unsafe conditions, potentially using hazardous and even lethal ingredients that could harm you and others. And the money you've paid, it goes right into the hands of criminals and may support child labor, drugs, and even gangs. Smells like big crime to me. So if you still think buying fake products is harmless, think again. And remember, if you don't know where the products came from, how could you know where the money goes? You're smart, buy smart. Go for real. Learn more at mcgruffpsa.org. This message is brought to you by the United States Patent and Trademark Office and the National Crime Prevention Council.
You never know what or who you'll hear from on the First Shift with me, Marky B. Like Tim Sconing, a WRMN news reporter back in the 1960s.
The jingles you all played, they were purchased by Dick Sutter. He was at some radio convention. He came back with this reel. I remember them playing that in the studio. We were so excited. We thought we were network now. And it's the same jingles today.
That's great.
Every time I hear them, I get excited about it.
I'm sure.
It was a lot of fun.
Fun times on the First Shift, right here on WRMN, AM 1410 and 96.7 FM.
The Distance Social, your spot for great craft cocktails with meaningful conversation. Whether you're out entertaining a group or out for a memorable nightcap, The Distance Social is your spot for starting or ending the perfect evening. Located at 314 North River Street in beautiful East Dundee, Illinois. Go the distance and find your social at The Distance Social. Here at WRMN Radio, we try to connect with the community and discuss important issues, like our current mental health crisis. Here's Lori Baker, President and CEO of AID.
I think most people, when they see young children thinking about suicide at the ages of 5 and 6 and 7, I mean, that's shocking to me that children even know that they want to harm themselves somehow. I know it's difficult. I definitely feel the pinch. We all feel the pinch at the gas pump, at the grocery store, right, in our rents, but I think most people could handle 27 cents a day to help kids and seniors and people experiencing homelessness.
Discussions like this take place on the First Shift, weekday mornings from 6 to 10, right here on WRMN AM 1410 and WRMN 1410 Radio on Facebook.
back on Apolitical Talk Show right here on 1410 WRMN. Thanks for rolling with us through the possible technical difficulties. You know, again, it's me just pointing out and doing what I hate when people do. They break the fourth wall, but
I love it when shows break the fourth wall. When I'm listening, I mean, mind you, I've
big Office fan.
Right. Yeah. But mind you, I have lots of friends, other friends who also work in radio, besides being on the air a lot and being in radio stations myself, friends who work in radio, and that whole behind the scenes bit, you know, you got to get a view of how the production is. So like if you're watching again, are we live back on the YouTube?
Yes.
Okay. So you can see how, you know, like Cecilia right now is trying to cut this crepe that she got from the Stop and Dip across the street. And oh my goodness, this thing is, I mean, they're not sponsors, folks. So if you would like to hear more about it, the Stop and Dip folks, the crepe and gelato place, you know, we'd be happy to have you be one of our sponsors.
Oh, yeah, let's get a full shot on that. There we go. Those guys. We look at that sign every single day.
Yeah.
Nice to see.
Triple chocolate crepe.
Good golly, that thing. And I'm telling you, the camera is not doing it justice.
It's
you know?
really not.
No, well, you took a picture of it before you started cutting it. It'll be on your Instagram, right?
It will be.
Make sure you follow Cecilia's Instagram so you can see what this baby looked like before we started taking it apart.
Had to do it before first.
Yeah,
it's not rolled. That's what's throwing me off. I thought crepes were always rolled.
That's what I thought too.
I had thought so too. It wasn't exactly what I expected, but I am here for it and
Yes,
I am
ma'am.
excited.
Not to be a snob, this is going to sound really snobby, but I have had crepes on the streets of Paris. You know, when they have the crepe makers out there. And yes. And those were the most incredible crepes I'd ever had. So these, when I try these, we'll see how they compare.
So you can be a real crepe critic then.
I am a crepe creep, kind of.
It's like TLC.
Yep. And then although I'm not chasing any waterfalls.
Nice. I mean, not unless there's some waterfalls, maybe like just drifting slowly towards the edge of them.
And
Crepes.
he may clean, but he is not a scrub.
Hanging out. Well, I tend to hang out on my best friend's ride.
Just hanging out that passenger side.
Yeah.
That's how it goes. That's how it goes.
You know, trying to holler at you.
Hey, you.
That's one of my great karaoke fun times. Just anything TLC. Sign me up, and I'll do a rendition. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. To get us back on track just a little bit, it's the electacular special breakdown panel.
And I think today, our little recap today, it kind of, if you didn't listen to the talk we had on Tuesday, I felt this is kind of like that. We kept it kind of light, I think. Even with this, as anxiety-ridden as everything was, we still kept it kind of light, which I think gives us hope that, you know, Republicans and now independents can, you know, learn to work together and share a crepe.
Yes. Very nice.
You know, if in the future I do have a little opposition with, for example, a Democrat, a Libertarian, anyone, I know now I can just bring them a crepe. And you've heard of breaking bread, but we can cut crepes.
Hey, you know what? If it was
cut that crepe.
If politics had less money and more crepes, I think that would be good. That's a good diffuser right there.
I might have to put that on my campaign social media.
There you go. Making an initiative. Yes.
Well, can I get to that point though? I mean, I know you have more questions, but didn't this election kind of prove that you don't really need as much money to run a successful campaign as was thought?
Sure.
I mean, again, it's the Trump campaign has shown twice already they can run pretty much. I don't want to say a bare bones campaign, but a very targeted, extremely targeted campaign. Not spend that much money and still get a lot of grassroots support.
Sure. And you saw that in how Trump went on online programs instead of the regular traditional media.
I mean, there are reasons why, but at the same time, it was effective. But what are we saying about with legacy media? I mean, legacy media does not have the same kind of influence that we would think it had.
Unless you're talking about the 75-year legacy history of WRMN's local AM radio station. You know, that might be the place where people go now for their news.
But we weren't trying to influence an election. And you did have a lot of, like, you had the CNNs and the MSNBCs and the Foxes They were putting their own bit and saying that unless you're listening to us or listen to our narrative, this is how the election can go. And it didn't happen that way. I mean, how frequently did any of the things that they said had to be done by either candidate didn't affect the polling?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway.
No, it's one of those things, we talk about it all the time where it's just populist issues. For some reason, they're not popular in campaign season for some reason. But a general question in the last minute here, just what do each of you think? What was if you take a step back and just look in hindsight, what do you think was the downfall in Harris Wall's campaign? Start with you, Elliot.
Again, caught up in old ways of thinking and understanding that, people need to hear this. You need to do that. No, none of that really mattered. This whole thing, we need to have the issues out there. We need to talk about it. People didn't care because it was just people voted on what they felt was going to work for them, not on any particular issue. And it was Harris had the burden of being the incumbent.
Got it. Yeah. What did you see, Cecilia? I
would say that from an outside perspective, I would recommend moving forward. And in hindsight, that the Harris Walls campaign, what they should have done is go out more so and get in touch with their voters, with their demographics.
Yeah.
Because I saw a lot of people that were very disheartened by, I guess, their quote unquote being out of touch with the average voter. And I think that the Harris Walls campaign strongly focused on a lot of hot button issues. However, the average voter wasn't necessarily that those issues were their first priority. So I think moving forward, it's a lot about campaign strategy, and I will commend the Trump campaign for doing so.
Sure. Yeah, no, I would agree with both those sentiments. And yeah, I think the focus on their demographics, what did it. You're listening to Apolitical Talk Show on WRMN 1410. welcome back to a political talk show right here on 1410 WRMN. It's the electacular special panel post-election during crepe, chocolate crepe that is. Delicious, delicious. From right next door from Stop and Dip Crepes. We talk about them all the time. You go shawarma, you stop, you start again, you crepe, you gelato, you stop, dip, and maybe you start again after just a little bit of a break to digest all that shawarma and crepe. But as I said, I would properly introduce our guests in this hour. It's the Apolitical Talk Show post-electacular special panel with Cecilia Brooks and Elliot Serrano, moderated by Ben Boquist. And guess what? I am Ben Boquist. Cecilia is a community activist running for the city council. Elliot is a writer and media professional, best known for his writing associated with the viral sensation Grumpy Cat and Caffeinated Comics podcast. Welcome, guys. Yeah, I'll turn your mics on.
I mean, after the election special, getting Cecilia and I back in the same room again, that's some producing magic you got there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know,
As long as those wounds have healed.
Yeah,
No.
they have. I mean, they've stopped oozing, and the antibiotics helped. So, yeah, just I'll ask you to go easier on me this time.
That I can do.
All right.
Appreciate that.
Yes. As we noted last hour here, just kind of going over the normal vibes as usual. Losing side, a little man down in the dumps, and the winning side, really happy. Finally, got what you wanted. DJT back in O, and cool. We're moving forward here. And for me, it's like I was talking with Sonar about how it just seems like, it was one of those things. No one on that side was going to be happy until the Trump got back in office. So from that point of view, framing wise, I was thinking from Sonar's and I's perspective, usually on the show, it's nice to deal with someone who's actually happy. They think at least the system is working the way it wants to, and it's nice to move from there, from a point where both sides can at least be relatively checked in and happy in some sort of way.
I don't know about that, but yeah.
I guess what I'm trying to nicely say is that from my perspective, Trump supporters are easier to deal with at this point.
When they're happy and they get what they want, yes.
Satiated with the presidency. Yeah. And one of those things, it's almost, it feels like it was inevitable in hindsight looking.
Definitely in hindsight. So, and again, looking forward, and Cecilia and I were having a talk, but off air, but looking at the chatter on social media, now we're getting the whole, let's all learn to work together. Let's put politics aside. I'm like, All I'm going to say is everything this new administration does going in, I'm going to ask, how does it help the economy? That's all I want to know. I don't want to hear about the other stuff. I don't want to hear, how about this? Can the new president stay off social media so much all the time at 2 a.m. when he really should be getting his sleep? So I know he's able to look after the country when things happen.
Yeah.
But
I think that's a great deflection when anyone brings it that area to that space of just the overall identity politics.
Yeah.
Back to the numbers. I want the facts.
Let's stay away from that. Let's stop focusing on all those things. Let's deal with the country. That's what the Republicans ran on. That's what they said they were going to do. Hey, you know what? I'm expecting great things from this new administration going in. I think they've learned from the last time, hopefully. I think if they can avoid the mistakes of the past and actually go in and focus on the issues and do the things that help the American people, I will be there saying, good.
Yeah, at this point, they have a better chance than any other administration besides, I guess, the current one to do what they feel is necessary.
Well, the Clinton administration did a lot. But
sure.
Yeah.
Right. Well, they had, I guess, a lot less freedoms if you think about stuff. Yeah. But here to get back on track here, because I can't help but just lob a softball contentious issue out there. But here's one that's definitely going to bring us together. What is the most important thing for people who may be interested in starting to pay attention in politics to focus on? Local issues, national issues, worldwide, or a mix of all?
Definitely local. And I think it is so important to be involved in your local elections, as we discussed on Tuesday, Ali and I, that politics start at a local level. And while the presidency and Congress are important, of course, it's really the local elections, like this consolidated one coming up in April, and every other one that are small and near us, because those are these people that we elect into office during those election cycles. Those are the people that are going to impact our daily lives the most. And I think that we need to be informed. I would encourage people to go, for example, to county board meetings in Kane County, or whatever county it is, and Kane County, and to be going to whichever town you reside in, to those city council meetings. Get out there to your school board meetings and go and educate yourself. Let's hop off, as you mentioned before, Elliot, let's hop off social media a little bit, and let's go out into our communities and actually educate ourselves and become involved as to what's going on. Because if I can run for office, you can run for office, and so can anyone else.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely always where it starts locally. And a lot of people kind of hyper focus on one or the other. And it's one of those things like most people gravitate towards being hyper focused towards the federal type of stuff and just identifying completely with that. And I think it's inarguable that it's a great place to start and a place to stay, because everybody is affected by, like you said, on the local level. That's what your real politics is. Any other thoughts on that, Elliot?
I would say the local level is where you can see the most change the most quickly. I mean, let's be honest. On a local level, at your city council, your township, wherever, you can be in front of your elected representatives and things can be voted on and things can be changed, and maybe not overnight, but definitely quicker than on the federal level. I mean, I always say the federal government is like a giant cruise ship that it takes a long time to get it to turn in any direction. Yeah. So you can't.
And had COVID.
Yeah. So then you have that sort of thing. Whereas, local ships, they're more like, smaller cruise ships that can go around, obstacles and maneuver a little more aptly.
Sure. Yeah. No, it's really easy to get hyper focused like that on either be it small local issues or just the other way around, where most people go, just kind of falling into the category of that whole mindset of my vote doesn't count, there's nothing I can do to change it, and then just burying your head in the sand effectively. So
well, I mean, I think at the local level is when you can speak more directly to your own personal issues, because it's the local population, right?
The way I look at it is it all kind of adds up, the more you focus locally on what the populist issues are, the more it trickles kind of upwards, right. Hopefully, in a system, maybe in the system controlled by crepes in the future. it'll be more reflective.
Yes. I think that's a very, that is something that would unite all of us.
The crepe gelato party.
Right. Just another voting question for you guys. Is voting in the primaries important to you? Do you feel like each of you? Do you feel like your primary votes have counted or?
Oh my God!
Your voice has been heard.
Asking that question.
That was a good one.
I'm gonna let you go first, though, Cecilia.
Doozy.
Because I know I have a feeling we're gonna be on the same page on this one too.
Absolutely. I have seen so many people and heard so many people talking about how disheartened they are by, I don't like this candidate, but I don't like this candidate. So I'll pick the lesser of two evils, or the one that, whatever it may be, is something that doesn't even have anything to do with their policy issue. The point in saying all of that, though, is if you don't like the candidate, that was preventable. And that is kindly what I do say to people, is if you aren't happy with this decision, then you are aware, I hope, that these are primaries, and that if people get out and actually get involved and vote in the primaries, you have a lot more to say as to who becomes your party's nominee for whichever office it may be. But yes, I think if you're going to vote in anything, vote in the primaries first.
Mm-hmm.
You've been reading my diary.
You know my secrets now, and I know yours.
You left it laying around, man. You just left it there.
Yeah, really. No, but I agree, and that is my thing. My biggest pet peeve. I say when Biden won the Democratic primary, my biggest pet peeve was well, oh, we're voting for another 80-year-old man again. Go, folks, you had all these other candidates. Actually, the Democrats at that point had one of the most diverse fields going for the nomination that year. And people, I kept hearing from people, I don't know yet. I'm not really, I'm not enthused yet. I'm like, see, that's what you get. If you're not involved, if you don't pay attention, that's what you end up with. Primaries is where you find out, where the rubber meets the road and where you get that candidate.
Absolutely. Specifically then for Elliot, how do you feel having your voice effectively stifled this primary and maybe you started getting that feeling? At least I'll speak for myself. In 2016, I didn't vote because I felt like my primary vote was kind of ineffectual. What do you think of generally the primaries and where it looks like it's heading from your experience voting in them?
Well, I mean, primaries are like the general elections, right? I mean, the thing with primaries, though, is that you have a lot to choose from, and it's up to, like, say, yes. When the Democratic primary was good for, I was an Elizabeth Warren fan. I was really rooting for her. I thought she spoke to my issues. I thought she would be a great candidate for president, and was speaking to the issues and saying all these things. And I thought she would be a great person for the Democrats to move forward. But it didn't happen. She never took. The populists never took to her for some reason. Well, I have ideas as to why. So there's times you just got to say, okay, I loved my candidate. It didn't happen. Is this party going to put in another candidate that can also speak to my issues? Maybe not perfectly, not exactly, but fine. Because I will say this, does the opposing party have offer me anything? Maybe they do. Maybe the opposing party for once is like, hey, you know what? They're speaking more to my issues at this point. And that's when I vote for the other party. But the fact is saying, well, no one's speaking to my issues. I don't know. I cannot. Well, speaking as an independent right now, I can kind of get that whole, you know what? I'm not terribly pleased with how this is all panning out. At the same time, what is it? The song goes, you can't always get what you want.
Yeah. If you vote sometimes, you might just finally get what you need.
Get what you need. But yeah. But I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that certain folks aren't justified for feeling disillusioned or feeling that they're not always spoken to. That is what cost Harris this election. There are a lot of folks who don't feel that she was speaking to them, and hey, that's a failure on her part.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I'd agree. It's one of those kind of hindsight's 2020 for sure. And we're just hoping over here that people see what we've been barking about and screaming about for the last year or two, that populist issues are popular. So.
And the electorate is changing. I mean,
exactly.
We're talking, this was a whole new round of voters that brought in. They didn't vote in 2016. And we're seeing that there was all these young male white voters. They didn't vote in 2016. They were able to vote in 2024. And they thought, hey, this guy over here, he's on Joe Rogan. I think I'll vote for him.
Here's a question for you. Something that I've been saying for years and thinking about recently. There's always talk in these exit polls about demographically and how we split that up. It's always by race now. Is there a better way to split a demographic, maybe by class or either whatever socioeconomic type of way you'd like to do it? What do we do?
No, that's a really good point. I mean, to me, I can see some validity to the classifying by, again, Latino, Black, white, but then you get into, again, college, non-college degree.
In general, I think it comes from just people voting from within the same house. So
right,
you'd say,
that too. But I think you're right. Sometimes it gets a little too granular. And I think the socioeconomic, that is where the failure is happening. There's not enough attention being given to the socioeconomic backgrounds of the electorate. Like if you're looking at the number of people who didn't vote, I mean, and let's look at all the average incomes of those people. Okay, let's dig into that. They didn't vote because guess what? I voted this time.
They were
nothing
working
changed.
Overnight. Yeah.
Yeah. I voted this time. Nothing changed. I voted for this guy. Nothing changed. I voted for this guy. Still nothing changed. At that point, you're like, okay, as we said, what's the point? So,
yeah. And not to mention, they're just busy. That was my whole thing, making fun of the election earlier in this year is like, Yeah, people aren't going to vote because they're busy and they don't have a day off to do it. So
Well, yeah, but then they'll line up for an iPhone. So I don't know about that
yeah,
part.
right.
Right. It's if you want to, you will. Like if you wanted to, you will. And I also think that as far as could we reshape those demographics or kind of pull the demographics in a different way as to the electorate and who, which of these constituents were voting in what demographic section, I would absolutely agree. I do not think that race necessarily, I think that it's interesting and I think that's good to know. But if we're going to do race, I think that, for example, it was only Black, white, and Latino. So I think that if we're going to do race, then incorporate all races, not necessarily just I hate to say it, but your stereotypical minority. It's not just Black and Latino populations.
Yeah, why
and white
don't
that
we have like
matter.
Italians and the Irish and
Right.
Yeah,
I
break
think,
down that way. Right?
Honestly, ethnicity could play a cool and interesting factor, and I think that those backgrounds would come into play too. Socioeconomic status, I absolutely think that that's something important too. But when it comes to college degree, I really don't think that carries any weight. I don't think it carries any weight at all, actually. And I think that, because for example, you have, just because someone is a college educated person doesn't necessarily make them smarter or any more successful than someone who did not go to college, and the other way around. But I think that in today's society, college is pushed so much, and I will one day speak to that on my own. But as for right now, I think that we as a society need to step away and get off a high horse and say that because I have a college degree, I am better than X, Y, and Z people. I don't think that that's true. And I think that's been proven time and time again with entrepreneurs.
Yeah, especially when you look at the high bar that it is to go to college these days. It's like, it's effectively priced out of the market for a lot of people. So, yeah, it's one of those things. Demographics always changing. For my money, if we stop focusing less about demographics racially, it just cuts the identity out of politics that much more, which is in the right direction.
Definitely.
As far as I'm concerned.
And right now, it's starting to cause a little friction between different ethnicities. I mean, now when you look at the breakdown of how the voting went, and we're back to that again. You hear it on social media.
Yeah.
Oh, why did they vote like this? Oh, you should have voted like that. And it's like, all right, okay,
Who's they? What do you mean you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. I won't speak to the comments that I get, but I get people who verbally berate me because of my skin color, because of what I look like. I should be voting a certain way. And I've been called awful, horrible things for being able to think for myself. And I think that's the most important thing at the end of the day. Race, it really doesn't matter because, again, we are all Americans. We are all human beings. But now let's focus on what is important to each of us as an individual, because race is like, your race does not matter to me as to how I see you as a person. I see you as an individual, not, X white woman, Black man, whatever it may be. I think that we need to get away from that and just look at people as people and what they have to offer, not
concur.
what they look like.
We're an American nation, damn it. All right.
Yeah.
So, in the last 5 minutes here, I just wanted to pose a couple questions. One silly question, and then one that's maybe something you could expound on a little bit. First here, we've got okay. So who's going to be the better president, Trump or Grover Cleveland? And the link there is because they're both the only presidents now to serve non-consecutive terms. So.
Which Grover Cleveland are we getting? The first term or the second term?
The first term.
All right.
Actually, both just at the end of the day.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'll let you go first.
I was going to say, personally, I did not live through Grover Cleveland's first.
Yes. This is definitely my attempt at a hardball question here. I like that.
My soul might have been there. I've been here, my very old soul. But anyway, I am excited to see. I'm excited to see the Trump presidency. But
Awesome.
Touching on what Elliot had mentioned, accountability is necessary. Just because I'm a proud Republican does not mean that I will defend anyone from the truth. That's not my job. My job is to hold people accountable, to have integrity always, and to encourage
You're not going to be in the
change.
Republican
Love
Party
it.
long.
Okay, I'll come clean, guys. I'll come clean. I'll be honest. I actually wrote that question thinking that it was Garfield to incorporate the grumpy cat into
Oh, there we
It's
go.
not a grumpy cat
Garfield,
pun.
Andrew
then
Garfield,
I said,
No, not
Dean
Andrew
let us know
Garfield.
yesterday it was Grover Cleveland.
Yeah.
So
Well, no.
Sesame Street could have worked maybe,
worked.
but I guess in the last couple minutes we have now, I'll ask another kind of interesting question to just think about. I mean, who knows really? But who's going to be the next people who run? A lot of people would say, obviously, Vance would be a heavy favorite for the Republicans, and who would the Democrats throw out there?
I have no idea about who but that's what they're saying. The Democratic Party is doing a little soul searching right now. There was a rep from, I forgot who it was on the late show with Stephen Colbert talking about that very thing, that they need to go back and have to look. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I would love to, as an independent, because I know she's also a Democratic socialist, but I'd love to see AOC like step up a bit. But I don't think that the nation's ready for that.
Yeah, I think there was a path, for that to maybe even be this election if it went different.
Yeah, but she would have. It would have run. I think she would have run into the same issues that the Harris campaign did.
Yeah.
But then, so that's a very good question, because if you don't have someone who jumps out at you, that means you don't have them.
Yeah.
In Gen Z speak, period. Absolutely. Absolutely. If I could not have said it better myself, and I hope to the listeners that they do hear me out on this, DeSantis for the next time.
Okay.
I don't get me started on that.
I do not. I'm really getting along with you, so let's not bring up. Out of all the Republicans, you go with DeSantis.
There's a lot of.
I will go with Marco Rubio before I go with DeSantis.
That's an interesting take.
And he I like even less.
Well, what I will say is Crepe and Gelato / Stop and Dip is still open. So after that comment, I could swing by again.
It does not matter. You can throw all the crepes at me. Ron DeSantis, no, I don't. No.
Will Ron DeSantis get money out of politics? Will he put crepes into politics, rather? Let's ask that.
I think, okay, well, whomever makes the best crepes, that could be up for debate,
May
too.
the best crepe win.
May
You heard
the
it here
best
first.
crepe win.
You heard it here first and last on Apolitical Talk Shows. I just don't think the crepes thing is going to take off.
No.
Never say
We'll
never.
see. Yeah,
Nice.
no, you're right. Shouldn't do that. We never do say never, ever on Political Talk Show. A Political Talk Show that is right here on 1410 WRMN. Joined here with Ben, Cecilia, and what's your name over there? Elliot?
I think.
Elliot. Elliot from Grumpy Cats fame.
And
so
caffeinated
much more.
comments. Yeah.
Yes. So we'll be right back here on 1410 WRMN. Thanks so much for listening. The Electacular special panel wrap up, bottom of the hour. To the top, we'll be having just more fun conversation. We'll be right back after the bottom of the hour news. Thanks so much for listening.
Reporting. Elgin's general property tax levy is expected to stay flat for an 11th consecutive year, but residents could pay more for water and sewer services in 2025 to fund infrastructure improvements. City Manager Rick Kozel presented an overview of the proposed 2025 budget and three-year financial plan to Elgin City Council members on Wednesday. Upgrades and additions to the Hemmons Cultural Center and Elgin Sports Complex, as well as the revitalization of DuPage Court, will be completed in 2025. The proposed budget includes improvements for Wing Park and funding for design and engineering work to replace the Kimball Street and Chicago Street bridges. Construction is slated to take place from 2026 to 28 on Kimball and 28 to 30 on Chicago Street. The cost to replace both bridges is expected to be about $41 million, but the city hopes to obtain grants that could cover roughly 80% of that price tag. Residents could see an increase in water and sewer rates to pay for a number of capital improvements. If approved, water rates will increase by 9.5% and sewer rates by 4% next year. And in Rosemont, the Target reopened Thursday about 3 weeks after a fire that's been labeled as arson by authorities. Fencing was installed around the store's entrance while crews worked for weeks to clean up and restock the big box, which lost at least $1.5 million worth of merchandise in the blaze. Now, Denny Ellis, of 56 years old of Nevada, was charged with arson, aggravated arson, on the 20th of October, a day after his vehicle was spotted through the use of license plate reading cameras in Elk Grove Village. He remains in custody following an initial court appearance. He is due back in court November 15th. I'm Marky B. This is the Talk of the Town.
Produced in Studio 14 by the River Media Network.
From morning coffee to your evening commute, WRMN 1410 AM is here for you. The faithful friend that brings you local news, timely topics, and the friendliest voices in the Valley. Stay informed, entertained, and engaged with our full lineup of shows, streaming all day, every day at WRMN1410.com or on the WRMN app. Wherever you are, we're right there with you. So why switch stations? Stick with the one that has it all. WRMN 1410 AM, your daily companion, your constant conversation.
Your kids could get free or low-cost health coverage from Medicaid or CHIP. Even if you've applied before, they may be eligible now. Kids up to age 19 are covered for checkups, vaccines, dentist visits, hospital care, and more. And if they already have Medicaid or CHIP, remember to renew every year. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Be sure to catch the first shift weekday mornings from 6 to 10 a.m. for important information like fire tips from Elgin Fire Chief Rob Sagan.
The thing in the winter that we're more concerned with is carbon monoxide, because that we don't get in the summer. That carbon monoxide issues occur because of heating equipment. Anything that burns natural gas, if it is faulty, can generate high levels of carbon monoxide, which in time can be fatal. So I can't emphasize enough the importance of having carbon monoxide detectors in your home. Every single year you will see somewhere in the country, and usually we'll get one or two in the Chicagoland area, where you'll see multiple fatalities in one home. You can't smell carbon monoxide, you can't taste carbon monoxide, you have no idea it's happening. And so it's critically important that you have the right detectors in your home.
It's the first shift weekday mornings at 6 a.m. with me, Marky B, right here on WRMN.
Welcome back to A Political Talk Show right here on 1410 WRMN, Elgin's favorite AM radio station. We've got a 75-year history on this bad boy, and we're still bringing you content every single day from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. right here, 4 to 6 p.m. We are A Political Talk Show. You usually hear from Dennis Sonar Green and myself, Ben Demonium Boquist, just bringing you the apolitical chats here. If you listened on election night, you heard our A Political Talk Show electacular special with Cecilia Brooks and Elliot. I'm sorry, what's your last name again?
Okay, since you're giving me the option here, no, Serrano. Although I want to ask this. I mean, in the spirit of the fun that we're having right now, can I have a nickname?
Ooh.
Because you're Bendemonium.
You can't, and you can't give yourself.
I can't give it to myself.
But you can ask someone to give you a nickname.
Right. See, because here's the thing. Wait, hold on before you say it, because I brought
back the music just for this moment.
Thank you. Because now Sonar, I've had conversations with him about nicknames. Sonar's got the best nickname, and I remember I asked him, "Is that because of Radar O'Reilly from MASH?" And he went, no, he told me about his experience in the Navy and what he did.
Yes.
So that's why he got Sonar. Because I went,
because I'm Batman. No one ever asked that.
Yeah, really.
Are you Batman?
No, I'm not Batman. No.
So I said, can I be Hawkeye then? Because I loved, Alan Alda from from MASH.
Sure.
Okay. He goes, no, but it'd have to be a variation on Hawkeye. So, so before
I like it.
Before Cecilia comes up with a nickname for me on the spot, just consider what I like, and if it's gonna stick with me, and you want us to be friends, it better be a good one.
It's going to be in her phone. It's going to be Elliot, quote, bribed with crepes.
Crepe eye.
Yes, crepe eye, Elliot. How about that?
There we go.
I flubbed your last name because in my head I wanted to say Cerrone.
Well, you're not the first person I would get. Okay,
I know it's Cerrone's.
Cerrone, but not only that, people always ask, how do I spell my name? Do I spell it like the Serrano in Major League? Remember the guy, Joe Boo? He always, gives. So yeah, so it's not with a C; it's with an S.
Great stuff.
So,
Okay,
yeah. But anyway, that's no worries.
S for spicy Serrano.
I don't know if I'm spicy, but yeah,
love it. Man.
Own that.
there we go.
Sweet today with the crepes from over there at Stop and Dip, Crepe and Gelato, with the right next to Shawarma Stop, right across the street from our awesome studio right here, 14 Douglas. Come down and say hi.
It doesn't look so good now when you show it on camera. It looks kind of like a mess there.
I got a good one. I got a good
good piece right there.
rendition of the crepes.
There you
Small
go.
screen there. How about that?
There
Check
you
it
go.
out. And a reminder, like us, follow us on YouTube, WRMN Radio. Search that. You'll find us. Like, subscribe. Tell your friends, too. Just like, subscribe. Leave the phone on. Turn the volume down. Just leave it playing at all times. Why not?
That's what I do.
Ask Alexa too.
You can ask Alexa, your smart speaker. That I watch it on YouTube on my television at home because I have the station saved now on my YouTube channel since I'm subscribed. So if you ever just want to sit down and watch the shows on your TV, you can do that.
Agreed. Yeah. So many great ways to listen to the radio or media podcasts. We were talking about podcasts last hour, and man, just so much media to have been going on. I guess just a random question that just came to my mind here. If Kamala went on Rogan or focused on more so on other stuff, Elliot shaking his head already.
Yeah.
Kamala on Rogan, would it have worked?
No.
At all?
That's what I heard. I heard like some of them said, well, she refused to go on Rogan's podcast, which it's not that she refused. She wanted to go on the podcast, but she didn't want to sit on it for 2.5 hours, from what I understand. And Rogan wanted to be able to keep her on there for whatever time. Which is his right. I mean, it's a very popular podcast.
I'm sure he would have done an hour. Like he did an hour with Bernie. It was kind of the same thing with Bernie, but it was more so like for me personally, it's like it's his show. You're gonna ask him to do his show differently and make a special thing to come. So they just didn't come to an agreement in the end. But it probably would have helped her a little bit, I think, if not Rogan to focus more on something.
Rogan's completely. He has a completely different market. I mean, his demo is way different than what was going for the Harris campaign, and I think that what some folks might have viewed it as condescending. Oh, so she goes on the podcast, big deal. I mean, really, the reality is she needed to connect with. I mean, yes, a big part of that demo did go to Trump, but that demo was going to go in that direction anyway. She had to appeal to, again, the established Democratic voters who weren't feeling it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tough to say in hindsight, and honestly, like with the numbers and everything.
Well, they'll be analyzing this one for decades. They're going to be looking back at this all the time. Right. They still are thinking about what went wrong with the Hillary Clinton campaign, and they're still trying to figure that out. But mind you, a big part of it was her likability. That you had 10 years of stuff happening that just dragged down her popularity, her reputation. They didn't have that as much with Kamala Harris, but then it was the newness factor. People who weren't paying attention in the primaries didn't know who Kamala Harris was. Yeah. And I think that's fair too. I think it's fair.
I was talking about that yesterday on Headlines and Phone Lines that, a bunch of people, I guess there were Google searches, a bump in Google searches of, is Joe Biden running for president?
Yep.
So a lot of low information voters out there.
But at the same time, everyone knew what Trump was. Everyone knows who Trump is. So I'm just hoping that the Republican Party actually does what they say they want to do this time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm holding the Republican Party accountable for this.
As you should.
Yeah.
Promises made, promises kept. And I am all for accountability. Both sides, every side, all sides, all the time.
Let's fix those things that they say need to be fixed. This Project 2025 stuff, I've read it I don't know how many times. None of it has to do with the economy. If anything, there's a lot of stuff that's in there that's going to make things more difficult in the economy. I say focus on the economy.
Yeah. For me, it's kind of just the same old playbook that you've seen in years past. So now that it's out there actually for people to read, if they do, and then hold them account and make sure those issues.
But mind you, they said it had nothing to do with them. It's nothing to do with Trump. Trump said he never read it. He has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So I have actually also read Project 2025, and I'm actually familiar with the organization that has implemented or at least come up with this plan. And it is the technical name is otherwise known as Project 2025, is the presidential, I want to say it's the presidential I can't remember the exact.
It's for the transition.
Yeah, it's the transition.
Yeah.
So, but what I will say, it's by the Heritage Foundation. Right. So everyone can do their research on the Heritage Foundation. They actually do a lot of good things. However, a lot of I like that you've read Project 2025. I'm not speaking to that at all. But what I will say is that a lot of lies or I will say hyperbolic exaggerations have been disseminated on social media talking about, I have seen people who believe that Project 2025 will do the most extreme things that I have honestly ever seen. And that is just not the case. But I think that a lot of fear mongering has been put in place and it's now looked as the worst thing ever. And also I will say that Donald Trump has not been endorsed or funded in any way, shape, or form by the Heritage Foundation or Heritage Action.
Well, my thing, though, with Project 2025, if it's not so terrible, explain it. Don't just go out there and say, oh, you're exaggerating, whatever. Let someone come down and sit down and say, okay, this is what we want. This is what we're looking for. This is what we mean. And let's discuss it instead of telling people, oh, you're just taking it out of context. Okay, give me the context. I mean, it's out there. You can read the whole document if you want. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there that, yes, has been kind of like taken, and blown up in some areas. And in some areas, it's like, I'm like, that's a little too much. I mean, even thinking as a conservative, the old conservative me might have liked that, but I'm like, no, that's not going to float today. I mean, you're talking about conservatism, real social conservatism from like 50 years ago. The society has moved past that sort of thing. We can't go back there. So it's like, come on, let's evolve with the times. The Republican Party needs to evolve with it and accept that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And again, they ran on the economy. Deal with the economy.
Yeah, no, it's one of the, just like I said, it's just at this point, it's a reference to what has been the GOP concern since Reagan or maybe even before with a lot of this stuff. And a lot of this stuff you could look at and just obviously you could not believe your lying eyes when it comes to the not codified, the repealing of Roe v. Wade, and get into all the debates of health issues, be it reproductive health, mental health, and all that kind of stuff that has really taken a downturn and changed so much since the Reagan administration. And now they have it pretty much written out. So, yeah, I think you're right. People are yearning for someone to just go over and either counterpoint or something. But, we may have a couple projects in the works here. When it comes to just making people more aware of what's in Project 2025, what's happening right now, what people actually want to happen, what's best for people. And, it's one of those sources. A lot is to be talked about and debated, but it's out there. So go and read it and figure out what's going on, I guess. To just segue just a little bit funly here. Since we've been talking politics, we're all political fanatics in this room, whatever ends of the spectrum. You got, I guess I'll just call the hats out here. Left, right, center, now center too. All technically independent though, right?
Yeah.
So
no, she's a Republican. No, she's a Republican. Come on.
I am a Republican in certain things, but I would say I traditionally have more conservative beliefs, but at the same time, I'm a pretty moderate Republican. I am asking.
You're not gonna last. You're not going to last.
Well,
Hey,
just
but-
declare independent now. Just do that now.
to cut through the tension and treat this like the real fandom that it deserves to be. Do you guys have any political heroes out there? If there was one, who would it be? For me personally, I just want to start.
Go on.
That's what the moderator always does.
Yeah,
isn't
go
it?
ahead.
As you should.
Bernie Sanders said so many good things after this election, and the chair of the DNC didn't really like it. But it is what it is. And for me, it's like I really started getting into politics after voting in my first election, 2008. And after that, Obama administration really being swept up by the Bernie and the Bernie bros and being blamed in 2016. And so it made me vote now. But this one goes out to Bernie. Thanks, Bernie. You're my political hero. Did you ever know? How about you guys?
Oh man, I know he wasn't the most popular, but I think when history looks back at him for being a one-term president, Jimmy Carter. I mean, it just
love it.
It drives me nuts when you hear someone like frickin' not Billy Graham Jr. I forget which one, who says that that Donald Trump is the most Christian president he's ever seen. I go, no, not even close. Jimmy Carter really exemplified what being a true man of faith and being a Christian was. And yeah, I look back on his life and it's, again, for a one-term president, an incredible integrity that I don't think we're not going to see for a long time.
Yeah, great diplomatically.
Yeah,
as well. How about you, Cecilia? Anybody?
I just want to say I actually really respect both of your heroes, and I love that. Actually, those are interesting, and I wouldn't have expected that in the best ways. Mine would actually be Abraham Lincoln.
Okay, that's a safe bet.
Oh, yeah, Illinois. You got to play to the crowd.
Really,
No, but I tell you, if any the safest Republican to call out is Abraham Lincoln.
I want to hear some reasons though. I like that.
I was so scared you were going to say
his
Reagan.
wrestling.
I honestly would say I love this state. Obviously, I love this country. I think that's pretty much clear to anyone who speaks to me. However, I love this state. And when I have had people ask me multiple times, why don't I live, for example, in Washington, D.C. or Arizona or a super red state or something like that, I always tell them, Illinois is my home. This state is my home. This is the only home I will ever know.
No.
This is my roots are placed.
I already flashed on you. You're going to end up in D.C. at some point.
Maybe
it was like hold on. Like the dead zone. I touched you and I flashed on your future. You're going to end up in D.C. at some point.
Well, one day the presidency is the end
Maybe,
goal.
yeah.
Since I was 16 years old, I said that.
There you go.
But Abraham Lincoln, I think that he did, other than just his story of where he came from. And yes, I am aware that he was born in Kentucky, but we are the land of Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
But no, that being aside, just from what I hear of him being a man of integrity, as I've mentioned, that is one of the most important things to me. And I think that he knew what he was risking with, for example, the Emancipation Proclamation in the time that in which he did live. That was not popular. That was the very unpopular thing to do. And that is something I will always respect. Myself, I always will stand up for what is right. And I always have, to me. And it has not been popular and it is not easy. And so for a gentleman like himself to do that, but way, way back then in the 1800s, is something that I will always be.
So you're a
commenting.
log cabin Republican.
Yeah.
That's what you are.
Lincoln Log, specifically.
Yeah, really.
Lincoln Logs, yeah.
What's the best Lincoln movie then? Mine's the vampire one, I think. Or
Abraham
Day-Lewis.
Lincoln, Vampire Slayer?
No, Daniel Day-Lewis for sure.
Daniel Day-Lewis one was really good, though.
It was amazing.
Yeah. But
yeah.
You can't Lincoln beat killing vampires, though.
Right.
You can't.
Yeah.
That's true.
Political heroes. You heard it here first for all of us. So I hope everyone enjoyed that segment. A political talk show right here on 1410 WRMN. Just a reset. Like us. Follow us on YouTube. WRMN Radio. Celia Brooks, Elliot Serrano, and I remembered his last name. Didn't
I was ready to give it to you. Don't worry. I was waiting. I was gonna.
Just to wrap up the last 9 minutes here, what are you guys going to focus on now? The election's finally over. Is there a degree of, okay, like we could just let go a little bit? Elliot, you're not giving that vibes. I'm seeing a little.
No, I mean, yeah.
Is there some degree? For me personally, I think, yeah, it is the shock of another Trump presidency, you know, good or bad, whatever. We all been through it, so we have at least that. It's not our first Trump rodeo. So at least we know the world won't end, the sky won't fall,
Okay,
the sun will come up again.
Don't say
But-
that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I
Never-
guess.
Well, I'm sorry. Go on.
Oh no, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
But so yeah, the question is there a degree of you could focus on something else at least a little bit different now?
Okay. First, I will say, look, the Trump presidency is not going to affect me, a straight man. I also live in a blue state. Even if a national abortion ban is enacted, it's not going to affect me. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that the Trump administration can do that will not affect me, but it can affect a lot of other folks. So what I need to do for now is just disconnect from those sorts of things, because afterwards I will come back and talk about, of course, just accountability. That's it. I'm not going to sit back and criticize. I'm not going to sit back and flame and troll. I'm just going to say, hold accountability. And that's what I would ask anybody to do. Even folks who voted for Trump. Now, you need to hold accountability. I don't want to hear anymore. I'm already hearing the old, we need to give him a chance thing. Okay. No, I don't want to hear that. Okay. I had 4 years of let's go, Brandon. So, you know, let's not act like we're being reciprocal here. But at the same time, he's our president. This is our country. I want our country to improve. I want our country to be better. And you know what? I would like the Trump administration to come out and tell people, we know you're concerned about these things. You don't have to be. These things that people are saying are not going to affect you.
Yeah, that would be the best thing for his image, in my opinion.
That would be huge. I agree.
But I don't see that happening as a problem. But that's me.
Yeah. So no relief, just knowing. At least for me, the tension was: is it going to go this way or is it going to go that way? And just being here now, I'm a little bit relieved that we're through the campaign.
Well, because you and I are white men. I mean, I'm not white, but we're both men. We're not going to be affected by it.
Yeah, no, I don't mean to go into that. Like, obviously, I'm still checked in that arena, but just knowing or not knowing, I think either way, obviously, would have been way more relieved had it gone the other way. But at the end of the day, what I'm getting at is that the campaign cycle is kind of built that way to manipulate and make people ramp up.
Yeah,
like
true, but I learned from the last Trump administration that it's not the campaign now. It's going to be the people who support the Trump mission and feel that they have carte blanche to do certain things. I will say, for people who listen to this show, who listen to this radio station, and I'm sure there were people who were listening and maybe got their hackles up a little bit with things that I've said, which you're entitled to. You're entitled to disagree with me. And maybe if what I've said kind of annoys you, hey, I know I'm an annoying guy. No. Right? Yeah, you
have to be if you're going to be true. Yeah.
But you also understand that now there are people who are concerned that they will then be either vilified for what they say, or they will lose their jobs, or they will be put in jail. These are all things that Trump has said. Political enemies, people who say things about him that he doesn't agree with, will be punished. Yeah. And you're going to have a lot of people who are going to be cool with that. No. So that is a thing that is hard to disconnect from.
Did you hear about the Mehdi Hassan, all that drama going on right now?
No. All I know is that we've already had a couple media companies already doing their, oh, congratulations, that's so good, thank you, we're so happy for you.
Yeah, no. That's why you keep it local here on WRMN 1410. And just get the straight news.
And then Elliot will stay away from the kind of stuff that could get the station in trouble.
Oh, please don't. That's what goes viral. We'll just grow digitally because of
hopefully.
The message.
And we're bringing Stop and Dip Crepe and Gelato along with us.
Yes. OMG.
And as far as taking a step back and everything like that, no, not for myself, but for the majority of people, yes. And I say that as a lighthearted no, just because living, breathing politics and public policy people are my passion. And so having worked in campaigns and in politics since I was 18 years old, and now it's been 6 years, when just when you think it's over, it never is. And so if it's not a general election, it's a midterm election. If it's not a midterm election, it's a primary. If it's not a primary, it's a consolidated election. It never stops, and I love it. I love it so much because as we know that the only way to change the world is to really go out and show people what you want, right? Be the change that you wish to see in this world. And I love it. I love people. I love politics. I'm very excited for what's to come.
Just Elliot sighing. This is the dichotomy.
But here's again, yes. Cecilia, why aren't more Republicans like you? Why can't all Republicans be like you? I would vote for you every time.
I love that. I appreciate that. That's why I'm excited, because I want to break these. Am I breaking barriers right now?
And again, I don't mean that. I'm sorry. And I want to apologize to. There are a lot of Republicans that are like you. I know there are a lot of Republicans
but
that are
let's
like you.
get them loud. Because
Yes, exactly.
right now, no, but I agree.
Yeah.
Right now, there's a lot of Democrats that think Republicans are just horrible, nasty people.
Yeah,
and that is not the case.
You hate the poor.
Oh my gosh. How do you know I'm not the poor?
Right. I know. I just that's a line from The West Wing. But still, but no, I think, and again, I think thank you for saying those things too. And I think stepping back, because there's a lot of,
for a lot of people, it makes sense.
Makes sense. I think
absolutely.
We need to get beyond, again, I know it sounds so empty, and I know there's so many people. I'm just speaking for folks that I know, who I empathize for, who are very concerned about what's going to happen over the next 4 years. Cecilia, I am hoping that the sound, respectable, reasonable people in the Republican Party are going to focus on the issues and take away that anxiety that people have.
I hope so too, and I second that. I really do.
Absolutely. Keep it right here on 1410 WRMN. Monday through Friday, we're doing Apolitical Talk Show. Thanks so much, guys. Cecilia Brooks and Elliot Serrano on today's panel.
Thank you very much for having us.
Absolutely. A pleasure as always.
I hope I didn't
Let's
get the
make
station.
politics
No,
fun
never.
again.
We're going viral, everybody. We're going viral, and we're replacing everything with crepes. I'm getting paid in crepes. See you next week right here.